the Italian Wars. If you're looking at this piece of paper, there's nothing under the Italian Wars. You're going to have to free write. I'm sorry if that's going to bother you, but you're going to have to free write your notes. I forgot to add this part. But this is the first modern political philosopher, Machiavelli. Very important. I hope you spent some time on your power map and you looked at him. We will see a document a little bit later from Machiavelli. You're actually going to be needing to be able to interpret some of this stuff. But right now, we're just going to give you the information. Political philosophy. Political philosophy is just the idea of how a government should govern. That's political means government, politics, those kind of elements. And Machiavelli is the first who really attempted to define the reasoning of government. Machiavelli was the first modern political philosopher. Machiavelli was a political leader in Florence. He actually served the Medici family and was sent in exile once the Italian War started. So I need you to understand the context. The context of this is really he is this humanist who has this idealistic way of the world, and then the Italian Wars happened. Now all of a sudden the beauty of the early Renaissance Florence is now shattered, and he's like, "How in the crap did this happen? What happened?" And in that he publishes a famous book. He publishes this famous book called The Prince. The Prince is, again, the first book on modern political philosophy, and he's going to write this book. And here we see kind of things, but the downfall of Italy shifted his view. Rather than seeking moral decisions, I want to point out he embraced an amoral view. So yes, he's a humanist. Yes, he embraces in most of his works the ethics and morals. But because of the chaos, he's going to embrace an amoral view, which amoral means not having moral judgment, with the goal becoming more important than the actions. So he's sitting there in The Prince. Really, I think the overall theme here for us to know is that his goal was to unite the Italian city-states into a nation state. He concluded that the ideals of the Renaissance, that it allowed them to maintain a sense of division, that competition, not cooperation, all of that chaos, and that made Italy into a power vacuum. That power vacuum became a theater of war. He's now, how can we fix it? So he now is going to write an entire book pointing out that the goal is more important than the actions that's taken to achieve that goal. And in this book, and again, remember, he's a humanist, but now he's moving away from humanism to realism. He wants to create a realistic understanding of what it's meant to be. And the two key themes, here we see, I like this one, it's better to be feared than loved. He really says, hey, if you're loved, people can backstab you. They can take advantage of you. So if you can be loved, but if it's unstable, it's better to be feared. This really reminded me so much of the Godfather movie series. The idea that the Godfather, he could be lovable, but when it came down to it, his number one thing was fear. If they fear you, they will not rival you. And that's going to be a key theme, not really a quote, but more of a theme of The Prince. And the most important one is the end justify the means. That is the idea that the goal makes the means, or the way we get there, correct. Really important you see that. So now, one of the things, he really glorified this family called the Borgia. Cesare Borgia was this horrible, really when I say horrible, immoral. His father was the Pope. Cesare had murdered his own brother, and his Pope Alexander VI said, hey, no problem. And all of a sudden, Machiavelli goes, wait a minute. This Borgia family, they're doing whatever it takes, so maybe they should be the new king of Italy. Maybe they should create the Italian nation state. And really for him, not to get in his head, but I wondered if he meant, okay, if we have to have corrupt and bad to achieve a goal, cool. And then once Italy is stable and centralized, we're no longer a power vacuum, no longer a threat of having a civil war, then we can get back and get to the best parts of who we are. But in the end, The Prince, a pretty complicated book. The Prince is focused on what a government should do to achieve the idea that the government, number one goal, needs to be feared. If it can be loved, but it needs to be feared. And in the end, the goal justifies the means, or the ways we get there. And in the outcome, this book becomes a really standard book in any political philosophy course. And really, that's what we see. I hope that makes sense. I may come back and do a different lecture on The Prince, but right now we just see that it gives you the information you need for the quiz.